And hello good people of the internet, it is I, Tommy Kelly. This is Adventures in Woo Woo. First of all, I have to apologise for maybe not the best sound quality on this one. Could be fine. But my microphone, my lapel mic that I usually use, I forgot to charge the battery. And here I am, miles away from my house, and no ability to charge it. So I'm just using the Osmo inbuilt mic. Should be fine. I've used it loads of times on the Osmo 1. Haven't used it at all, I don't think, on the Osmo 2. Anyway, no one cares about that. Let's hope that it is decent quality. It's a lovely day today. It's all the leaves are brown. All the leaves are brown. And the sky is grey. And the sky is grey. And it's just really nice. It's a nice time of the year. I'm beside a river, stream, beside some trees. What more could I want? What more could I want? Anyway, over on Discord, the wonderful Grayson asked me a question. They asked me two questions, but I will get to the other question, which is essentially around, I suppose, the bigger question of gender in Magick, which probably deserves a whole video in itself. But the second question was around the idea of how has my awakening experiences affected actually how I do Magick. And the example that they give was, when you do a banishing, is it different now than before the experiences? And it's a good question, and it got me thinking, and I said, nice one, that gives me something to talk about in the vlog. So here we are talking about it. One of the things, I suppose, the place to start, I suppose, with the awakening stuff, is that when you have any kind of awakening experience, it's not that something changes. Any of the hallmarks of awakening experiences, you realise the nature or the reality of what has always been the case. I kind of described it as if there's something here going, hello, how are you? And you're just ignoring it. Or you're not allowing it. And then one day you look at it and you go, oh yeah, you were always there. And that's kind of how it kind of feels. There's a sense of trusting something you already know. That in a sense you weren't able to kind of trust it or acknowledge it because you've been told or you've believed something very different. Well, at least that's how my awakening experiences have been. They've been kind of recognitions of that which has always been the case, rather than suddenly realising that this is all different than I thought it was. It's subtle. It's not the equivalent of waking up from the Matrix into a completely different world or something like that. You should wake up very much more here. And this becomes, it's like, I suppose, the way to kind of think of it, I struggled a long time over that whole notion of, reality is Maya or a dream or, a mistake, something to escape, get out of, that we made a false conclusion about God or reality or divinity and created this to hide in, or to not want to face up. And the whole kind of journey of being human is to return to the place where you're meant to be, and like in the Christian sense. You fucked up in the garden, you got chucked out of the garden, but your whole thing is trying to get back to the garden. And your real life is somewhere else. It's when you die, your real life is over there. Simulation theory is a bit like that too, where you unplug and you'll get to your real life. Although, of course, in simulation theory, which people don't seem to get, is that you are also a simulation and there's nowhere for you to unplug to because you don't exist at all. The Buddhists would say something similar in that you don't exist either. And in a sense, so would Daniel Dennett. So it's kind of my awakening experiences have led me to believe more and more in the, I suppose in one sense, of the reality of this place. And it's that this is it. This is divinity. This is it. A tree there, it's God. All of this is divinity. And that it's a thing to be here with, not to get away from, not to shun, not to see as being evil, not to be seen as an illusion. Which in a sense, not to say that it's there's lots of things that we make mistakes about, and we've preconceived notions about the world, and we bring all our baggage to it, and we play roles, and all of those things are illusionary in the sense of, if you're like illusionary in the sense of that if you're a jealous person, you see your partner, being, overly friendly or flirting with other people when in reality they're not, because you're bringing that to it. So in that sense, there's a lot of illusionary things, but not the overall waking up from the Matrix thing. At least that's how it seems to me at the moment. And so it becomes more and more about being here, and how the job, the goal, the thing to do is to be here, not to get somewhere else. But this is the thing. Grayson, I am getting back to your question. I know I'll go way off on a tangent, but it'll come around to it. So, I've kind of changed, I suppose, in one sense from the awakening experiences, is more trusting in what I thought was already the case. Now, I've always said, not always, I have said over a number of years that I agree with Alan Moore that art equals magic. I perhaps don't fully agree with how he explains that, but for me it's exactly the same. Duncan Barford would disagree with that. He has a great post on his website, links in the show description, where he makes the case that art and magic are two very different things. But I suppose I can't see a difference between the two of them at all, because the impulse behind art, behind creation of art, and the impulse behind why I meditate, or why I'm on a spiritual path, or why I do any of these things, is exactly the same. I can't differentiate between them at all. I don't see a difference between it. And I think sometimes the confusion when people, when they say that they don't agree with art equals magic, is because they look at a painting and they look at meditation and they go, but obviously they're not the same. And I think that's because one is the result of magic and one is the process of magic, and it's in a different part of the timeline. And when I talk about art, magic, or magic equals art, what I'm saying is that thing that I'm trying to do, and it even feels like that, like I'm trying to express or expand or create or whatever, is exactly the same thing I feel about my life. It has the same, that's what I'm trying to do. And I've said before that art and magic are the same, except the canvas is different. And the canvas and magic is your life, whereas in art it can be whatever, your, sculpture, rock, clay, a computer, a banjo, whatever is the thing. And so the point then, I suppose the awakening thing, is that when you realise that this is it, that's what we're doing, is that you kind of see that the whole thing is about, in a kind of Carl Jung sense, I suppose, the answer to Job, that about learning, divinity learning. If you come from the point of view of that at the beginning, God knew everything, he created this, and obviously that's a bit mad, and knew everything the whole way through. Then you have issues with the problem of evil, you have the issues with suffering, you issue with pain and all of this, that it doesn't seem to make sense without it being a cruel God. But if you have at the beginning going, divinity trying to work something out, trying to know what it is, trying to express itself, trying to, in a sense of like doing personal development, trying to be better, trying to expand, trying to have new ideas, trying to widen, all the things that we do here echoed in divinity above. And so then if it doesn't start with something that's trying to know or knows all the answers, it's learning as it goes on. So the process of humanity or creation is divinity learning how to be whatever it is. In the sense that maybe there is an end goal that knows there is. Maybe it's like it's procreation of divinity, or maybe it's just a constant expansion and see how far it can go. And this is the process within it. Because that's how I feel about art. That it's this kind of expansion, creativity, bringing in new stuff, widening, and getting out of the way of it in a sense. There's a whole lot of conversation now that could be around saying yes to life and or to creation, and should we get into it? What time? Grand, we're only about 10 minutes. So when I do a piece of art, I try as much as possible to not be demand it be the way I want it, that I kind of let it be whatever it is that it wants to be, and in a sense channel it, but it's not quite that, but it's not far off it, where I just let idea space, as Alan Moore would call it, descend the idea, and then you're given this raw form of an idea, but it knows what it is, and then you, like an editor, bring it into the world, and we need to switch this to make it right, whatever, but not changing the nature of it. And I think that's the best creativity, or the best things I've ever done, has always been when I've allowed that. When I just allow things to be what they are, and it's like that old story of you get the big stone and you chip away and you get the David, or whatever, well, David's bronze, isn't he? Well, whatever, a stone statue. But the statue was already in it. You were just taking the bits away from the stone that weren't the statue. And I kind of feel like that, and I kind of feel like that's what life. And the best times of my life have been when I have been open and allowing and doing the same equivalent thing. Now, the worst times in my life and the worst times in my art career have also been when I've surrendered and when I have let go of autonomy and sovereignty. So it's a difficult one, and because, say, from an art point of view, if you are doing a collaboration and you give away, you just go with the flow, you let things be what it is, what happens is the other person, if it's a two-person thing, takes charge, and you just become an art monkey for them, where you're just kind of trying to let the creativity flow and they're just telling you what to do, and it becomes a horrible situation, and I really dislike it, and it's something I avoid with collaboration because of the way I see art, the way I see creativity does not lend itself to having more than one person involved. Because if you have someone who's trying to be open and free and lets the thing be what it is, and another person who's putting their kind of stamp on it, it becomes all about the other person. I'm not sure I'm explaining that quite well, but I guarantee you anyone who's had a shitty collaboration knows what I'm on about. And the same in life, in that you can be open and kind of saying yes to creation, or not resisting, or whatever. I've never got a correct word that really fits with that. It's just allowing it, not clinging, seeing the dukkha, being okay with it. Not thinking necessarily it's a good thing, but not resisting it, not trying to stop it from happening, if it's already happened. And that's been good. But then also you can lose your autonomy and your sovereignty and thing around where other people start telling you who you are, what you have to do. Truth becomes external, and it's a horrible thing. And I've struggled with that immensely because they're so close, and I don't know exactly the difference. Because if you're surrendering to divinity, we've talked about loads, and I know immediately when I start talking about it, people start talking about surrendering to divinity. That is all really nice ideas and really great ideas, but not actually surrendering to divinity. What I mean by surrendering to divinity is all of your decisions about your life are made externally to you, in that you react only to life and are guided by what happens around you. That's what's prescribed in the teachings. No one does it. And the reason no one does it is because it leads to shitty places and horrible places and really dark places, at least in my experience. And saying yes to everything as well, it leads to doing more of things you don't want to do. That's my experience. I don't think I'm unique, so I'm going to assume that other people had the same experience. So the struggle or the challenge then is to find being open to life and open to divinity and open all of these things without allowing other people to infringe upon that. And that's the hard thing about surrendering to life, is that you're kind of waiting for the other people to tell you what to do, or who you are, or what the right course is, and something like that, which is not exactly what I feel the flow or the Tao is. The Tao is something different, and it's very, you can see it, not see it, you know it when it's there. A bit like pornography, you can't define it, but I know it when I see it. Same as the Tao. Of course, the Tao, which can be, described as not the Tao, all that stuff. So that's the kind of challenge, is to become expansive, become more creative, become more evolved. It all seems to be about evolution, moving forward, becoming greater, becoming, discovering who you are, what it is, from divinity to mini Tommy, and that's kind of what the awakening thing has brought to me. So then, go back to your example, Grayson. What is the magic? What does it look like now? Has it changed? It definitely has changed, in that I don't do magic for effect. And I don't mean by that to show off to people, but I mean I very rarely do stuff where I go, I'm doing magic for money, or I'm doing magic for sex, I'm doing magic for new book, whatever it is. Most of it becomes around acknowledgement and expansion and widening, awakening, all of that kind of stuff. So when I do a banishing, it's when I do them, it's more about, I can feel a block in myself, I can feel that I've allowed something to happen, or that sounds like I could get into victim blaming there. So it's not that I've allowed something to happen. Something has happened that I dislike, that feels like an infringement upon me, and I can kind of have the option, I suppose, to allow it to be what it is, which is probably what you should do in a lot of the cases. Or I can do a banishing where I can go, I'm going to deal with that later, not now. And it's not that these things are sent in a way for you to learn. I don't think that, because that again is getting back into victim blaming, and it's spiritual bypassing and all those things. It's within these hardships, within these kind of peak experiences, there's the opportunity to learn. Not that they're sent in order for you to learn. Bad things don't happen so that you can become a better person. Within the bad things, you have an opportunity to become a better person. And so, yeah. And again, going back, that I can't see the difference between writing a song and meditating. I can't see the difference between creating turbine syndrome and having an awakening experience, or I can't see the difference between doing any of the things I do that, in life. I can't see doing a binding is any different from doing a comic. I can't see whatever, all the examples, it all seems the same. So for me, I can't see a difference between art and magic. And so it all becomes art, or it all becomes magic, in the sense of Aleister Crowley, every intentional act is a magical act. And art is certainly intentional. I mean, you can make art unintentionally, in that you kick over a paint onto a canvas and you go, oh well, I didn't mean to do that, but it looks wonderful, now it's art. There's the intention as you look at it to turn it into art, not intentional too. But let's save that argument about what is art for another day. All of it's art. My life is art. Your life is art. Doing videos is art. It's also magic. All of these things. Now, at this point, I feel I am going to start going around in circles, so I'll end it there. Other than to say, I probably haven't answered your question, Grayson, as in the way you wanted it. Or maybe I have. In that my worldview, I was going to say it's changed, but it's not changed. I trust in it more. It feels more real. It feels more, I was going to say correct, that's not the right word. It feels more in tune what it is. It feels like there's a flow to it that when I can, if I start listening to the external voices, or I start listening to the programming, or start listening to the roles I talk about myself, it contracts it. Whereas there's an expansion, and I think the whole thing is about expansion and wanting to be wider, and that's the point of all of this. I always, when I come to the end of these things and I have the video and I switch it off and I walk back to the car and go, you never said this, or you said that. So it's the best I can do in the moment. So I'm sure it'll come up again, some of these type of things. But yeah, so throw it over to you, good people of the internet. In your kind of spiritual awakenings, or whatever word, awakening can be a bit much for people. I know it doesn't completely sit well for me. In your understandings, your insights, in the way that you have, from your meditation, from your magic, from your general life, from your shadow work and all of that, how has that informed your magic and your magical practice? And is something as simple as, say, like your cornerstone of magic, a banishing, does it feel different? Is it different? Is the intentionality different? Do you know what you're doing? In the sense, do you know now, have a clear understanding of what you're doing than you did before? Or has it made no difference at all? I'd also like to know about how you feel that kind of thing of art or creativity and magic. Does it feel the same to you? And I think, without confusing the end product of art, in that the magic of, say, Turbine Syndrome is not in the book that it'll end up being. It's in the reading of it by the person who's going to read it, but it's in the creation of it is the magic. In the sense of that, but like, you could look at a painting and get lost in it, and there's magic in that too. So I'm interested in what you think about all that, where I can't see a difference. I just literally can't see a difference between it at all. And maybe it's because I'm an artist, musician, writer, chancer, all those things. So, good people of the internet, have a wonderful day, and as always, may your best days be ahead. Be well.